Hi, this is Chuck, and today is Tuesday, April 2nd, 2013, and this is this week's edition of Notes from the Master's Class. Two things happened last week that are at least of interest to me. The first was a presentation on, I believe it was 60 Minutes, about how food processors who are using GMO-grown foods from GMO seeds are designing the foods we eat in such a way that we actually become addicted to them. Somehow or another, this is what it takes to sell food today, but we are being fed food that we know now is not good for us. The second thing, which you may have heard, and it is altogether shocking, is that Monsanto has been given an exemption from being in legal trouble for consequences from their GMO seeds, and it was signed by the president. Now, I don't know about you, but to work against our health on a federal government level is not a good thing. Now, on the program in 60 Minutes, here's the interesting thing they said. They interviewed people, and everybody that they talked to in the organization where they were making the food understood what they were doing, and they had a perfect rationale for it, and there was no real conflict. And you can understand that. After all, these people are working for a salary, they're doing what they're told to do, and it's in their best interest to believe that they're not doing any harm. This, in fact, is the key to what's happening all over. People are doing what they're being told to do. Even if they suspect there's something wrong with it, they're still doing it. And we have a job that is incredibly important. Some of us, and if you're watching this video, you're one of them, some of us have tried to raise our level of consciousness about what's going on. Now, over the last 10 years, Karen and I have had the opportunity to ask some very bright people, what is consciousness? And there are as many answers as there are people to ask. But the basic answer is something like this. As we become more conscious, we have a bigger and more broad understanding of what's going on around us and the interconnectedness of how things work. When you go up a level in your understanding of what's going on, you're able to see a much bigger picture. This is why Socrates said the only way to change something is to produce something more that people want or works better. You can't really fight the system. And it was Albert Einstein that says you cannot solve a problem that was created at one level by finding a solution at the same level. You have to find a solution at a higher level. This is what we're dealing with right now, and this is what is so important. If you have had the experience of having your consciousness rise, or if you have a bigger vision of what's going on, you are needed. And you're needed right now, and here's the reason. When you let people know that you're seeing the bigger picture, it gives them permission to see it. And it's that provision that's going to make the difference in what happens in our country and in every other country around the world, in fact, around the world. What we need to do now is to realize that the problems we have, intractable problems, are not going to be solved along normal solution lines if they ever did get solved on that level. We, you and I, have to come up with the understanding that our ability to see a bigger picture, our attempts at raising our consciousness, our willingness to share that with other people is the key to finding the solution. We're all going to get through this. We have to. There's no option. The world is not going to come to an end, but it could get a lot worse real fast if enough of us don't stand up and say, hey, wait a minute. We see the big picture, and we'd like to show you how we saw the big picture, and we'd like to invite you to come and see the big picture with us. If enough people begin to voice their concern and their insight and their vision to others, we can solve any problem that comes along. And nobody that I've talked to wants any of the problems to get worse. We prefer it if they went away. They're not going to do that. But the only way they're going to get better is if folks like you and I take a look at what we see and say, you know what, it's time we started using the connections we have with each other in positive ways to make a difference. Now, this is just an idea. It's an opportunity for you to think with me this week about how can we begin to make it permissible, possible, doable for other people who are having the same growing pains of consciousness as we are, to say, look, let's get it out in the open, let's talk about it. Let's make something really momentous and positive and good happen. And by the way, from the beginning of the Bible all the way through to this morning's newspaper, there's one thing that we know doesn't work. Resisting evil is not the solution. The solution is presenting a higher and better good for us all. And the way to get there is to use our consciousness to give ourselves and others permission to share what we've learned and to work to solve some of the problems we've got. And this food thing is a big, big deal. And an example of that is that they're now saying, as of yesterday's New York Times, that the pesticides that we're using in plants, which are becoming systemic, are killing the bee population. And that means that better than 55% of the bees we had last year to pollinate all the crops in this country have been destroyed in bee colony collapse as a result of what we're doing to systemically treat plants so that they grow better. We're not making the right decisions. So I'm inviting you to share with me everything that we've got, everything we've learned. It's not about blaming somebody or somebody being wrong and somebody being right or somebody being liberal or being conservative or Republican. It's none of that stuff. It's about all of us understanding that we're in this together. And it doesn't do any of us good to presume that we can get out of it and let others be on their own. We have to work together, and this is the time when we have to do that. So, this is Notes from the Master's Class. Join me, won't you? We can really make a difference if we decide we want to make a real difference. Thanks so much.